This video is all about 5 of the most common millennial acronyms. So maybe you've heard these before, maybe you've seen them somewhere online, but you're not quite sure what they mean, so I'm here to break them down for you. Number 1 is TBH. TBH stands for to be honest. Pretty straightforward. An example would be, TBH, I'm not sure what you're getting at here. So just a really simple example. Now, in a sales conversation, it is a no-no to say that full to be honest followed by some statement, because it begs the question, were you not being honest before that sentence? Everything you said before was not being honest. So in a sales conversation, I might shy away from it, but the way millennials use it is more innocent and more vulnerable, especially over text, because it can be hard to know when you're joking, or sarcasm doesn't really come along over text. So if you add the TBH in there, you let people know that you're being serious or you're being somewhat honest here. So this one is often used at the end of a sentence as well as at the beginning. So another example might be, I wasn't a huge fan of how this turned out, TBH. It sounds kind of silly to be used out loud like this. It's most often used in text or instant message, but millennials do say it out loud. Some definitely do. So you may have heard that spoken as opposed to written. Even though this is a millennial slang, I believe this is one that anyone could get away with. It's really simple, really innocent. You could throw it in at the end of something, especially if you're being kind of vulnerable, being like, well, truth be told, it's kind of like that, like a truth be told. That's it for TBH. Continuing on with 5 of the most common millennial acronyms, we are on number 2, which is SMH. So SMH, if you haven't heard this one before, SMH means shaking my head. Just like that, sort of. It's used in a wide variety of ways, but the general meaning is disapproval. So some synonyms you might use for SMH include "what a shame" or "how unfortunate." I can't believe it. SMH, shaking my head. So a couple quick examples here. You can say, Starbucks really just screwed up my pumpkin spice latte. SMH. Or you could say, SMH, I just went the entire day wearing my shirt inside out. And one final example, Saturday Night Live is so bad now, they might as well pre-record it. SMH. So of course, I'm having fun with this, but just like TBH that we just looked at, SMH can be used both at the beginning or the end of a sentence. So you'll see both ways, and it's just a nice way to, you can just picture yourself doing it, shaking my head, As a bonus here, if you see SMDH, it means shaking my damn head. So shaking my damn head, it's like extra amped up version of SMH. But if you see SMD, that's a whole nother acronym I'm not going to go over. I'm sure you can imagine what that is. But SMH, so if you see that being used by millennials, now you know what it means. What a shame. We are moving along in 5 of the most common millennial acronyms. The number 3 acronym we're going over today is FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. FOMO. You may have heard this one before because it's actually defined in Merriam-Webster as a real word. Here's what they define it as: fear of not being included in something, such as an interesting or enjoyable activity that others are experiencing. Gee, they sure know how to suck the fun out of it, right? These definitions. So here's a couple examples. So, I'm feeling FOMO after seeing all my friends' Instagram posts at Frank's Halloween party. Or another one, I didn't really want to go apple picking, but it's better than feeling the FOMO from staying home. So I'm doing some festive examples today. This is another one used either in text or out loud. And it was coined mainly because of social media and how we see the highlights of everyone's life instead of the low points, especially of certain events like this. You know, it's seeing people have fun without you. It's that peer pressure of the modern age, you could say. Now, there is another term that's recently started showing up. It's almost the reverse. It's JOMO, which is the joy of missing out. So an example of that would be, I hadn't spent a night in with my girlfriend in a while, so I felt some serious JOMO when I skipped the pumpkin patch today. So there's a couple terms for you, FOMO and JOMO. We're working through 5 of the most common millennial acronyms. These are slang words you may have heard before, but weren't quite sure what they mean until now that I'm breaking them down. Number 4 on our list today is GOAT. G-O-A-T. No, I'm not talking about the 4-legged animal. GOAT in this term, usually in all capitals, stands for greatest of all time. Pretty straightforward. Let's see some examples here. So, I love LeBron James, but Michael Jordan is still the GOAT in my book. TBH. There's another extra from one of our other acronyms. Another example, the strawberry shortcake is the most goated ice cream treat truck. Ice cream truck treat, rather. Let me start that over. The strawberry shortcake is the most goated ice cream truck treat. No question. That's a true statement. That's what I believe. Finally, rest in peace to the GOAT, Norm Macdonald. I'll miss that old chunk of coal. One of my favorite comedians, Norm, and he's absolutely the GOAT. So it's very often used, I'd say most often used in sports. So people would call Tom Brady the GOAT, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, anywhere where there's debate, it's a great place for the use of the word GOAT. Pop culture as well, you see, like I use the Norm Macdonald example. Musicians, some might say Taylor Swift is the GOAT, Kanye West is the GOAT, things like that. And notice with the ice cream example, I use the adjective version, goated. Yes, that is used that way. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's okay. It's slang, right? It's not supposed to make perfect sense. So just be aware of that. Now, similar to the FOMO-JOMO dichotomy we talked about earlier, there's also an opposite of GOAT. There's WOT, worst of all time. Now, this one's really not that common, but just because of how popular the term GOAT is, if you see the word WOT out there, you can put it together. Well, greatest of all time, what would the W? Oh, worst of all time. So you might see that thrown around, but GOAT is very much more popular, I'd say. We are on the 5th and final of the millennial acronyms I'm going over. These are some slang words you may have seen before, but didn't quite know what they mean until I'm covering them now. This one we're covering today is AF, just a 2-letter acronym. AF stands for as the F word, as F. If you've seen it before, maybe you thought it was a typo, but nope, it's just a goofy millennial slang word. Basically, it means to an extreme degree or to a large extent, right? AF. Some examples here, we could say, man, I'm sore AF after that CrossFit workout, right? You could say, these Facebook ads are annoying AF. I can't stop watching these Norm Macdonald YouTube clips. They are just funny AF. It's usually used as, like, very is used before the word, but AF is used after the words. It's often used in conjunction with other slang words, such as the word savage, which I'm going to cover at a later time in another video, or the word faded, which I'll cover quickly here. Faded means like drunk or otherwise inebriated by maybe drugs or something, so faded. Faded AF would be extremely drunk or really out of it, something you might see. The reason I bring that one up, this is such a fun one. Faded AF is a palindrome. So faded AF backwards is faded AF. It's something I would have used back in my partying days, but now that I'm sober, that is in the past. But Yeah, AF. It's one that I wouldn't try to use. It's kind of silly. If you see it though, you'll know what it means. You won't be very confused anymore. I go over things like this and a lot of other millennial mindset tips. What makes us tick? What makes us click? Um, in my free masterclass, you can go to whymillennialsbuy.com to sign up. I'll put the link in the description and also in the comments. Love to have you there.